align. And the end result is more housing crisis than the plot device of 2009. Capitalism demanded a sacrifice. So I walk to the square, hand them my son, and they hand me the dice. I roll for his life. To an equal extent, you could say I was rolling for mine. I'd called any favor, I paid any bribe. But it's all up to me for the roll, so I close my eyes. And the sound of the crowd is the same for a 1 or a 5. Two equal outcomes playing as though they're on opposite sides. And I know in my heart that on 4 out of 6 he'll be fine. But I can't seem to roll them, I can't let them go, I'm just holding them tight. I'm just holding them tight. I can't seem to roll them, I can't let them go, I'm just holding them tight. I'm just holding them tight. I can't seem to roll them, I can't let them go, I'm just holding them tight. I'm just holding them tight. Nah, I can't seem to roll them, I can't let them go, I'm just holding them tight. I'm just holding them tight.
You know, sir, I like you much better with my glasses off.
I guess I was born with the curse of foresight, 'cause I knew Joe was only gonna represent the war side. And that said, I just came to fight. You could keep the ore flight. Save the surprise and the gasp when the shadow of the fascists have cast is on your doorstep in the glow of your porch light. Save the surprise when the grid goes down and we go underground to lick wounds in the gloom of a torchlight. While up in the sky, a blimp glides by with a sign like New Year's 2022. Brought to you jointly by Pfizer and Coors Light. While the centrists observe from a comfortable courtside, right in the thick of the action behind a partition. We're in a morbid position, a plague of evictions, born a comorbid condition of the cancer of wealth. I fantasize that I cancel myself. Hands on your head, throw your best laid plans in the well. There are no more answers, questions go back on the shelf. All Joe's donors, a quick show of hands. How many of you sub to the Lockheed Martin OnlyFans? How many are loyalist patrons for the Raytheon Patreon? Occupy Iraq and send $1 million off into the great beyond. Cool yourself with the safety on. True to yourself in as much as you dutifully spew out a mucus of QAnon. You can't convince me the capital wasn't surrendered with every intention of digging us deeper down into the treacherous webbing of censorship, ebbing your speech and dissension so you can't hold Biden accountable. Not in his mentions and not in the streets. Know to the end that Joe will defend the elite. Joe won't embarrass McConnell, but Joe's not embarrassed if all of your children are hungry and weak. Too hungry to speak, too hungry to stand, they just lie at his feet. Joe is fresh out of empathy, fresh out of policy, but he'd love to know, what was your favorite ice cream flavor to eat? Back when you used to eat. I guess the road isn't rocky for people who thought we were free. They'll believe what they read, and Joe's here to lull them to sleep. Counting us down by the dozens, the culling of gullible sheep, led to the slaughter by media tyrants and government thieves. These are the leeches that stubbornly suck where there's nothing to bleed. These are the tumors that force us to crawl on our knees. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. One was foreclosed in 08. One was condemned in 16. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. One was foreclosed in 08. One was condemned in 16. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. One was foreclosed in 08. One was condemned in 16. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. One was foreclosed in 08. One was condemned in 16. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. One was foreclosed in '08. One was condemned in '16. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. One was foreclosed in '08. One was condemned in '16. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. One was foreclosed in '08. One was condemned in '16. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. One was foreclosed in '08. One was condemned in '16. This is the home of the brave. This is the land of the free. My lips, brand new taxes, starving all the billionaires and neutering their Visa Maxes. Topple Congress off their axis, mobilize the homeless, give them axes, call it praxis. Chop a couple limbs off the legislative branches. We'll show you the difference between air as a human right and guaranteed oxygen access. Octogenarians who barely know what day it is are culling countless citizens while sitting on a dais made of ignorance that was built on the graves of the slaves made to labor for its self-declared significance. And all to build a Congress full of millionaires who make their fortunes insider trading while they shit on all the indigent. So I got a bone to pick with our leaders, and I'll start with the ligaments. Pick right through the muscle, dig the marrow out, and serve it to the unhoused millions living in their minivans or watching their belongings get evicted from their tenement. I have a dream where we breach the walls of Congress and just let them in. And what happens next will survive in only text, cause there won't be any evidence. There will only be that heavy kind of feeling that pervades a space where there has been a reckoning and you can feel its remnants. Let any man who enters seeking power know that those who came before him suffocated on their eminence. That there once was a seal on the wall, but we quartered it and scattered all the pieces that it might prevent its semblance. And so we end the great experiment. We'll take all your billions, leave you 2 coins for the ferryman. Leave you drifting on a Dutchman floating derelict among the wretched seraphim. For holy is the hand that wiped the land clean of those who pose as gentlemen. That's my time, honey, cue the thunderclap and strike the theremin. And so we end the great experiment. Give you 2 coins for the ferryman. Told to come alone. Joe said if you vote for him, he'll abdicate his throne as the father of the crime bill, soul of Jim Crow. Proud to live and vote as a Strom Thurmond clone. If he tried to kiss your daughter with a camera rolling, he'll try more than kissing her alone. Cozy up with Jill for a photo like a portrait of the Kissingers at home. You know I hate to kill the messenger, but if he's gotta go, we can FaceTime. Slit his throat while he stares into the phone. Like if you don't know, kitten, now you know. This is where austerity has gotten us. This is all that palpable excitement for a 20-year wait on forgiveness for your student loans. But a distraction's a distraction and it's time to see some action. So here's one last song for Joe, before I try to keep his name out of the lyrics in my phone. Try to shift the focus to our senators and everyone in Congress who is all too happy to be hidden while we're wasted to the bone. It is not food insecure, it's starvation, and it lurks in almost half the country's homes. So if you plan to lay down, hold your nose and vote for Joe, have the guts to admit that you chose to submit and that you decided lending your support to a pedophile must be a step towards hope. Then a vote for a man that spent his whole life implementing laws that dehumanized people of color is a vote against fascism. When you know damn well he's just a kinder, dumber face on the same white nationalism. So baby, throw away your scruples with the memories of your activism. Watch your weak resistance usher in a fucking cataclysm. Elect a bigot war pig and say you're gonna push him into pacifism. That's some bootlicker Stockholm hostage liberal masochism. Bootlicker Stockholm hostage liberal masochism. Baby, that's some fucking bootlicker Stockholm hostage liberal masochism. God, that's some fucking bootlicker Stockholm hostage liberal masochism. That's some fucking...
Here's a song about the great glory of America. F you, USA, fuck the Constitution. We can't give you any money cause we spent it on bombs. F you, USA, fuck the Constitution. Privatize all life, fund the earth that you're polluting. Commit some genocide, call it revolution. Life is just one thing. back at you hard. America, the land of the free. America, why did you lie to me? America, yeah, so fuck you. You kind of deserve it.
Who are these people?
Hi, everybody. We're here. We did it. Yay.
Oh, yay.
Welcome to I in the News. I've got the lovely Collin Radix Carter, who you have to say his full name every time. You have to do the full one.
We do.
And then the gorgeous Noli D. How are you? How's everyone doing?
I'm fabulous.
Well, that's good. There's tons of stuff to cover today. I just want to check, make sure we got people in chat, so we're not just doing this to nobody. E. Heller's here. Shout out to Bacon. Extra Bull is here. You know, he had to show up for his future ex-wife.
That's right.
You know. So I think I sent a tweet out, Noli, with you tagged in it. I had to make sure it's the right one, so I probably deleted 2 of them. So hopefully you find that.
Oh, I did not know that, so I probably have to go back and share this everywhere else now, huh?
Indie News Network. It's okay. You're good. I had OBS crash on me when I went live. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been any problems. But anyway, you want to just get started? I've got all the fun stuff here. So, we've got this is from Popular Resistance, right? But it's about Consortium News. I don't know if you guys saw, but PayPal canceled Consortium News account, right? So the online payment system gave no warning or reason why Consortium News account had been permanently limited, quote unquote. PayPal indicated that only if applicable will the balance be returned. PayPal has canceled Consortium News account without any prior notice or due process and with virtually no explanation. As Consortium News is today launching its spring fund drive, it has lost one of its most important ways for its viewers and readers to show their support through donations. Clicking on the yellow PayPal donate button on our homepage now yields this message. You can't use PayPal anymore. We noticed activity in your account that's inconsistent with our user agreement, and we no longer offer you PayPal services. Because of potential risk exposure, we permanently limited your account. You'll no longer be able to use the account for any transaction. The message says that any money in your PayPal balance will be held for up to 180 days, after which, if applicable, we'll email you with information on how to withdraw any remaining money. Consortium's PayPal account page now shows a similar message. No prior notice or explanation. There was no prior notice sent, nor was Consortium News afforded any due process. A PayPal customer service agent confirmed in a telephone call on Sunday that the back office gave no specific reason for permanently limiting Consortium News' account other than the investigation and review of Consortium News history found some potential risk associated with this account, quote unquote. She said the potential risk from Consortium is not exactly specified by the back office. Of course it's not. The agent said it has something to do with the history of this account, asked whether any agency, government or private, or any individual had complained to PayPal about Consortium News. The customer service agent replied, I don't see any existing case. The agent could not explain why Consortium News was given no notice or any due process, but promised to ask the back office to contact Consortium News to explain. Regarding the $9,348.14 balance in Consortium's PayPal account, the agent said that after a 180-day review, PayPal would decide whether to return it. If there was a violation, she said, it is possible the money could be kept as quote-unquote damages to PayPal. Violations under the restricted activities of the user agreement included providing false, inaccurate, or misleading info to PayPal, other PayPal customers, or third parties. So, any thoughts so far? While I go close this door real quick.
I have lots of thoughts. I've had issues with PayPal for the past couple of months. They were holding my paychecks, for God's sakes, from my job, which, because I decided to go ahead and go through them. I thought it would just be easier to deal with. No, it made life horrible. I did not get paid for like a month because of them. That's like, $2,000 from one job.
Yeah.
That I had to wait for. And it's bullshit. They had no reason. They said, oh, well, it's unusual activity. What it is they wanted me to go in and reconfirm my identity. And I told them, no, I've already done this 3 times for you. I'm not doing it again.
Right.
You don't need me to reconfirm nothing. I've given you my password. You guys, this is it's the same phone I've had for years. Don't play no games. And I mean, it took me like months. I had somebody that bought a painting from me for $250, and I couldn't access that money for like 3-4 months because of them.
Yeah, I mean,
and then they told me that they paid it to me when they didn't, and so I had to fight with them over that. So
yeah,
I don't use PayPal for anything anymore.
So Warren wants to remind us that. Let me finish this. Given the current political climate, it is more than conceivable that PayPal is reacting to Consortium News coverage of the war in Ukraine, which is not in line with the dominant narrative that is being increasingly enforced. Last week, PayPal also froze the account of the alternative news site Mint Press News. PayPal was sued in California in January in a class action for similarly shutting down accounts. So, we do know that PayPal did back down, but I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, right? But if you try to go to Consortium News, right, which I've been trying to all morning, right? It won't let me. It just will not let me. Like you'll see in a second that it comes up as once my browser figures it out, it comes up as I think like reset network or something like that. I know some boys in our threads have been trying to figure out what's going on, whether it's changing servers or what, but I've not been able to access Consortium news all day. So I don't know what that's about, but you know, it worries me. Like, look, we're still spinning. You know,
this shouldn't be surprising considering, like, I know, like for Richard Metroids, for example, like I know, people would send him, you know, super chats through PayPal because obviously they take less of a cut than YouTube does. But anyone who kind of mentioned anything related to, I probably won't say it here, you know, the S country in the Middle East, and then other countries, you know, PayPal would not either not send it or would block it.
Right.
Which he's also mentioned before.
They were like in Pakistan too.
Yeah.
So this isn't really anything new. So
no. So
I
Warren
think
says
obviously
some of their features like receiving money are still frozen though. They drew out all of their money, but you need a VPN to see the site because it's being blocked in the US. So apparently that's the news so far. So yeah, fun. Woo!
So we're being censored from finding out what's really going on in the world, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
Like when they took out those 14 different news outlets that were, I can't remember, in the Middle East somewhere. Pick one. I don't care. They all like, you know, the American MIC looks at them all the same. But yeah, it was they took down all their websites and like went in and tore apart their offices and everything. 14 different news sites gone overnight. And then bam, fucking 2 days later, and no coincidence, we end up in a world of shit. Bombing fucking along the borders of oh my goodness.
Ed Heller says he can see the site right now without a VPN. Right now, this is what I get. So it says, you know, error, connection reset. You know, this is what I get when I try to go to Consortium. So, you know, I don't know if that's an issue with Consortium or what's going on. I know Oz tried this today on Chrome, still nothing. You know, so yeah, this is like we're not even sure. So this is Opera, right? And I've got nothing. So Opera GX, it's not working. But
you're
Consortium, if you're
on Google Chrome, right?
Oz tried it on Google Chrome, got the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. I know we had Constituent 808, I think is his name, right? He was looking into it this morning, right? And he's not sure what's going on either. You know, other than something's going on with their servers, he doesn't know. So, but yeah, no clue what's going on here. None at all. We'll keep an eye on it though for sure and see if it comes back or what the issue was or whatever. But this tied to their being blocked from PayPal had me a little worried this morning. So but yeah, no clue what's happening on over there. So Warren maybe thinks it's not blocked in Chicago, but it is in New York. Yeah, I mean we're no clue. So
this kind of censorship is bullshit.
Yeah, but I let Consortium know that things are happening like that. If people haven't done that already, send them a tweet. Their Twitter's still up, thankfully. So until they take that down, that seems like the best way to try to reach them. But Mint Press, I haven't heard if Mint Press got their stuff back yet either. So you know, poor Lee Camp is being blocked everywhere. So
I know it's so bad for him.
Yeah. Mona's in the chat. What's up, Mona? She's wishing Collin a happy Teacher Appreciation Day. Is that today?
Well, it's the whole week.
Right? Whole week?
Whole week.
Nice.
Yeah.
how many apples are they gonna like? Are you gonna have to throw away? You know, like
Actually, I like it. Well, I think it's just due to my position. Well, not position, but being due to being in an affluent school. Like I'm actually getting really cool gifts from my teacher. Well, one parent in
Nice.
particular who's been really, just been really good. Just helping us, support our children starting all year just by buying us books like that we need for curriculum and stuff like that. So yeah, so I'm really, really blessed for that. But I know like in other schools, that's not necessarily the case. But yeah, to
Right.
all the teachers who have worked their asses off, especially this, the last two coming into 3 years now, know your worth and you are appreciated, even though people might not say otherwise.
Yeah. Let me pull this up. Just got this in from our, team. PayPal has reversed its decision to withhold Consortium News funds after a backlash from social media. PayPal sent Consortium News an email on Tuesday. Your PayPal funds are now eligible. Right. We read all that. No reason for removal. People initially said it slapped a permanent limitation. Right. We noticed activity in your account consistent with our user agreement that we no longer offer you PayPal services. PayPal apparently has also lifted the permanent limitation. So hold on, let me look through. Among restricted activities in user agreement is a ban on providing false information. Right. Concluded PayPal was reacting to Consortium News coverage of the war in Ukraine. PayPal customer servant agent had told CNN that funds could be kept for 6 months until a determination was made about what to do with them. There's a violation as possible. Could be kept as damages. Just all that $9,000 just gone. That would mean a warning itself damages in a completely secret process. PayPal apparently has also lifted the permanent limitation on Consortium's account. According to its user agreement, PayPal says there are no steps that can be taken to reverse the permanent ban. So, yeah. But yeah, Consortium's not happy with this, and I can't blame them. But anyway, any closing thoughts on this? Because it scares me the level of censorship they're willing to go to. So
It's bullshit.
yeah,
That's what I got.
well said.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone who, I think, especially if you've been in the indie media space for a while, like they've been doing this, gradually, depending on what you're talking about. But I think,
Yeah.
especially now, given what's happening in Ukraine, it's been wrapping up a lot more, even prior to that, honestly. But
Yeah,
but yeah, but obviously this affects, a lot of our colleagues who are in the space too, that, like for many of us, well, we're not getting money yet, but
Yeah.
like for others who do get money, this is like their livelihood. So the idea, like you're just cutting off, essentially their salary.
yeah. Well, it's one of the things that, especially with like strikes and protests happening, a lot of money is being moved around on like, Cash App and PayPal and whatever to help people who need it in those regards. I know they closed down a lot of the bank accounts and stuff of the convoys and stuff like that. And, they continue to go after the bank accounts of plenty of, like protesters and activists and things like that. So, I don't know. They're going to make it to where you can't support people as well. So, tell PayPal to fuck off and, continue doing the work is all I can say, Consortium. But, anyway, I brought this next story because I feel like it's important, but I feel like a lot of people are missing a lot of it. So let me go to my slideshow here and over to. So, as we know, right, the leak from the Supreme Court went out. When was that? Tuesday? Monday night.
Yeah, Monday night.
So, protest happened, started that night, and Tuesday, tomorrow morning, it went almost all day. Protests were out, right? But Left Voice starts their article with all across the country today, people will be rallying to defend abortion rights. We must turn this anger into power by joining ranks with our unions and community organizations to shut down our cities and demand free, safe abortion on demand for all everywhere. In New York, Left Voice will be joining thousands of other working people at Foley Square in downtown Manhattan at 5, and I think that was yesterday.
Yes.
Monday, a leaked draft and opinion by Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito revealed that we have all been fearing for months. The Supreme Court is poised to issue an opinion that will explicitly overturn Roe v. Wade. This monumental decision will make abortion illegal, or all but illegal, in dozens of states across the country as soon as it is announced, making access to an abortion almost impossible for tens of millions of people overnight. This decision is an attack on all people who can get pregnant. In many states, they will be forced into illegal and unsafe abortions, expensive trips out of state, or be forced to give birth. Working people of color, and poor people in particular, who often do not have the means to travel several hundred miles to reach a clinic willing to perform an abortion, will be most affected. We must act. For years, the Democrats have pretended to be the defenders of abortion rights, which this paragraph by Left Voice is real good. But every time they have held the presidency, even when they control both houses of Congress, they have failed to pass any legislation that would protect abortion rights. Instead, on their watch, abortion rights have been slowly chipped away for decades. And now the limited rights afforded by Roe are going to be lost. The Democrats are not our allies, and it is clear that we cannot rely on the Democratic Party to defend the right to an abortion. Joe Biden has already called on Americans to vote to elect pro-choice officials this November, but this already failed strategy is nothing more than a cynical attempt to co-opt this movement for the benefit of the Democrats. Just hands of fucking applause for that. We cannot stand by and allow 9 elected judges to decide the fate of so many. Today, every one of us, including our unions, churches, and political organizations, must take to the streets, strike in our workplaces, and shut down the cities to unapologetically demand free, safe abortions for all on demand everywhere. In the spirit, Left Voice will be joining thousands of others right at Foley Square. And there's their email if you wanted to join them then. But free, safe, and legal abortion on demand. So I had to pull up this tweet, un momento, right? Here. If I just copy and paste. What? Why? Hello? Why is this wrong?
Because
Why did I screw it up? But anyway, what do you guys think of the Left Voice article?
I agree with what they were saying. They should have pointed out that it is going to put everyone's privacy at risk. Everyone's, not just women.
Yeah.
Everyone's.
Yeah, very much so.
Your privacy is going to be gone. Totally gone.
So you were there, Collin, right?
I
At
was.
this protest right here. Luckily, someone got better footage than you did. So unfortunately, we aren't able to afford the backpacks that TYT uses. So, we had to make do. But we did it live. So go check out that terrible stream. It's on our stream somewhere, just to prove that we were there. But anyway, here's Afeni speaking on the matter.
Hello, my name is Afeni. I'm a core organizer with Freedom Fighters DC, first and foremost. I'm also the field director for the Michaela Wilkes campaign, and I'm really excited to be here today to speak with all of y'all and be in community with you. Like my auntie said, I have been out since 2020, and I have not seen a crowd of this size since then. So it's good to know. It's good to know that there's something that moves you, but I just really hope that after this, we realize that there are so many things that deserve this attention, deserve this crowd. But here today, we're here to talk about abortion rights. So it's really surreal to be an organizer and have studied the women's movement, to have studied all the movements that came before us, and to know that organizers every day, we sweat and we bleed for our work because we know that our survival and the survival of our communities fucking depend on it. go to be an organizer and to see that 5 racist ass people at the end of the day can decide to just flick their pen and just do away with all of those decades of work. So many women have died. So many non-binary peoples have died on fucking delivery tables, on people's kitchen goddamn tables, and back alleys because of that fucking law.
Killer stuff from Afeni there. How many people do you think were there, Colin?
Easily over 1,000.
Okay.
When I went like after work, so I got there around like 5:30. But yeah, easily about over 1,000 people were there.
Right. But yeah, no, I mean, I was there with you the whole time. It was definitely quite a bit of people. Cheers were peaking all of our microphones. Afeni was peaking our microphones. So, you know, down in that doobly-doo, there's some donation links to get us new microphones. That'd be great. But anyway, I wanted to remind people what happens in other countries when you try to do these things. In Mexico, when abortion rights were up for debate, they marched to the presidential palace and attempted to burn it down. The Mexican government quickly decriminalized abortion nationwide soon after that. So, I mean, I'm not saying, but I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, you know, but there was, I want people to also be reminded when you see the Democrats pandering, you know, what actually they've been known to say. So Tara, you know, friend of the show, Tara Reid, God bless her. When someone tells you who they are, this is, I think Roe v. Wade went too far. I don't think that a woman has the sole right to say what should happen to her body. Can anyone guess who said that? That would be Mr. Joe Biden. So, over here we have Cori Bush. As a survivor, I am thinking about how Brett Kavanaugh and Clarence Thomas are credibly accused of having violated and harassed women and are now the ones about to deny us our rights to abortion care. Abusers do not belong in public office, period. Tara replies, are you also applying that statement to my former boss, Joe Biden, who sexually assaulted me when I was his staffer, Cori Bush? Or are we still saying it's not rape if the abuser is a Democrat? You are correct. Abusers do not belong in public office. Sexual assault is not partisan. God bless that lady. You know, so that just happened. So 8:07 is when she tweeted that out. But yeah, what else I got? Oh, did you see who they're blaming? Did you see who they're blaming for this? Susan Sarandon, everybody.
Oh yeah.
They're blaming Susan Sarandon. Right? Molly Knight, who I hear is a Stepford wife from, you know, somebody, that, you know, is like claiming Susan Sarandon. I hope you're happy, Susan. So we even have Rep Eric, dude, I can never pronounce this guy's name. Swalwell, I think that's it. Can everyone all at once tell at Susan Sarandon to sit this one out? She's caused enough trouble. Us real progressives will take it from here. And she replies, please explain how voting blue preserved and protected Roe v. Wade. In 2012, when Obama had control of Congress, promised to codify Roe v. Wade and then didn't. Since you're asking voters to vote blue in 2022, show them the receipts. What's your plan? So, Susan out here again, calling it like she sees it. So,
I blame her for my legs being swollen the other day. I just, you know, randomly did.
Yeah, I stubbed my toe.
It's like, you know, it's your
so
fault
pissed
that
at her.
my legs are like this right now.
Like what? They blamed her for that and the other thing this week. It's like that you can't blame her for everything. That's our joke. That you can't do that. Like, you can't steal our joke. So what happened here? Why is this just a blank thing? Oh, because this one, right? If I go here and I go here, and then I open this up and I close my messages. So this was what was being chanted.
Where is Joe?
He's at his tapioca pudding party. All right. He's busy. He's busy. So, yeah, some people I feel like are figuring a bit of it out. I don't know about you guys, but, you know, it feels that way to me. What do you guys think?
What, as far as this?
Yeah.
This overall event?
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah.
You're asking I feel that's directed at me since I was there.
Well, you were there to cover it, you know?
Yeah. I want to be very honest with you guys, and this is not going to be a popular, but then again, you guys know me. I don't say the popular stuff.
No. Speaking of popular stuff, we've got Nikki in the chat rating us on Twitch. So
hi, Nikki.
That's nice.
Thank you for the rate.
Yeah.
This felt, with a few exceptions, this felt very performative, a la Capital Steps for the housing moratorium. It felt like, yeah, that's what it felt like to me. As I said, with a few exceptions, I think certain speakers, obviously, you know, Athene did a great job of calling out, you know, the system. You know, I think many of you did see that Senator Elizabeth Warren also spoke.
Yes, we have that in a bit.
Yeah. So actually, you know what? You want to play that bit?
Yeah, we're getting there.
I can comment on that.
I'm
So-
sorry, I don't buy it.
I know me. It's very performative.
I'll say more to that. But
I have it with another
choice.
choice performance today, so we'll figure out who gets the Oscar on that one. But Lucy, another INN member, put out a Substack talking about this. So she's wondering who leaked the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court draft. You still have very little information about the sources, confirmation, and motives of the Supreme Court leak, with protests breaking out all over the country after an enormous leak of a draft Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, and similar outrage on conservative media over the existence of a leak. There is no doubt that this is a very politically divisive issue that is extremely emotional for many women whose lives are or have been affected by Roe v. Wade. However, in the flurry of these emotional times, very few people have paused to ask for a real answer to the following simple question. Is this leak real? In the 30-plus videos she has watched since this alleged Roe v. Wade leak, there has been no sources cited other than Politico, which has also not released any sources. All major news outlets on both liberal and conservative media were citing Politico as their only source on May 3rd, 2022. Quick process question, an MSNBC anchor asked the Politico journalist in charge of the leak, given the gravity of this news, this statement, this opinion that was written, are you certain that it is real? Because there's been some speculation about it, everyone wants to make sure that it is, in fact, what it is, and because a leak like this is so unprecedented, we just haven't seen anything like it. Well, you can imagine, replied the Political journalist, that we took all that into consideration and we took a lot of steps. I'm not going to go into them all to try to verify the authenticity of this document. Wait a minute, does that mean that this leak was released on all mainstream media channels, including CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and others without verification, and that they are allowed to release it, not only without releasing the source, but without sharing any details about their verification process? Politico journalist continues, we became convinced after taking those various steps and doing additional research about the procedures of the court, talking to clerks and other legal experts familiar with the court, the reporter went on to say that it sounded real, and that he had faith in its veracity. There is just one problem. No legal expert has come on any of these shows to explain why the leak is real or whether the sources have been verified. They just expect us to trust them. ABC News did a similar interview of a so-called expert who leaked this document and what potentially they could face. What is this investigation going to look like? Asked the anchor. I want to bring in legal analyst Doug Burns, but I really want to focus now on the leak. People are probably pointing fingers, and there are a lot of discussions that are happening behind closed doors. The senior analyst neither answered the question nor what answer the question of who leaked the document, nor what consequences they would face. It's really interesting, Byrne announces. You really have the mixture of law and, of course, politics and media, because you have two theories that are going around. One notion is that one of the liberal justice law clerks disseminated this to pressure a conservative justice. Then you have the flip side. Oh no, the conservative side of the course disseminated it, and that was to prevent a justice from changing their mind. But we do not watch the news for theories. We watch the news for news, and no one on the news has anything but questions. Who did it? That's the question everyone is asking, said to the most serious breach of Supreme Court protocol in history, said a reporter on CNN News. His source, Joe Biden himself, who answered, I just got a call saying that it's been announced that it is a real draft, but it doesn't represent who's going to vote for it yet. Well, Christina Marie, if indeed this is true, and CBS 2 has not confirmed the authenticity of the report, states the anchor of CBS 2, wait, you're allowed to just say the news without confirming if it's true? The CBS anchor's got to ask that? They know better. And some media outlets, like Stephen Colbert's comedy show, has taken to outright lying on the subject without quoting Politico as a source. According to a leaked draft, the Supreme Court has voted to overturn Roe v. Wade, crooned Stephen Colbert on The Late Show. Interesting, because every other mainstream outlet was simultaneously streaming that President Biden pointed out the Supreme Court has not made a final decision.
Right.
Fox News claimed Politico had obtained what they say an initial draft majority opinion, showing the Supreme Court striking down Roe v. Wade. This leads us to the obvious conclusion, whether it is liberal or conservative media, they all feel perfectly comfortable citing the same source without confirmation. And finally, there is recent news today, May 4th, that Chief Justice Roberts confirmed the leak, and while it does help settle the questions of many, those that perhaps still have faith in the separation of the branches of government, this does not actually prove that it was in fact a leak. Just as likely, it could be a coordinated effort between the court and Congress to decide to actively leak something. And while there's no proof of this wild theory, there's also no proof of this leak anywhere on mainstream media. So before you start fighting with your conservative or liberal neighbors about Roe versus Wade, stop for a moment to think, well, I have no doubt that the rights of women in this country have been threatened, particularly with the unemployment crisis, which affected women more than men in 2020. And while women are still dealing with the residual effects of the unemployment crisis, school closures, and lack of daycare, does the government have a reason or motive to create this leak at the time? Consider the following. Just yesterday, Democratic politicians were being forced to contend with the idea that they do not cancel student debt for 45 million Americans, an economic crisis that rivals the housing crisis and is a key contributor to the next financial crisis, they will lose the House and Senate. 2. On April 20th, a UK court formally approved extradition of WikiLeaks founder and Australian journalist Julian Assange to the United States to be tried under the Espionage Act. He is facing a sentence of up to 175 years. Let me repeat, Julian Assange, author of the most confirmed leak in modern history, is facing 3 lives in prison, while an anonymous and unconfirmed leak is being blasted through social media and all mainstream media channels. This anonymous and unconfirmed leak is being confirmed true, while all the talking heads on MSM are ignoring the most famous and verified leak in recent history. And in the days leading up to this leak, activists have been ramping up petitions and protests for Julian Assange. 3. There has also been turmoil from within the Democratic Party, particularly concerning Nina Turner's loss to Shontel Brown in Ohio, that the Democrats will never be able to recapture the progressive wing of the party. As a response to her loss, Nina Turner herself, despite being a lifelong Democrat, said she would consider running independent to break the pattern of a lack of enthusiasm from Democratic voters. Finally, even on the issue of a women's right to choose, even liberal voters are tired of the party's inaction on the subject. Just ask Joe Biden, who a journalist managed to corner in answering the question, are you going to do away the filibuster to codify Roe versus Wade into law? His only answer, I'm not prepared to make those judgments now. So, Great stuff from Lucy here. In conclusion, if you're pro-choice and believe in this leak, be aware that neither Joe Biden nor the Democratic Party are prepared to codify Roe versus Wade into law. If you are pro-life, you've been abandoned by all branches of your government, and while the outrage press rages on to manufacture rage on one of the most divisive culture war issues in this country, I will be patiently waiting for the actual sources of this leak to be revealed. Note, please do check out some of the clips of these stories in the leak and let me know if they sound as strange to you as they sound to me. Hopefully this one won't sound too strange. But I did want to bring the opinion just a little bit into view. So Alito's draft opinion overturning Roe and Casey approving cites Clarence Thomas debunked claim that abortion is a tool of eugenics against black people. So see brief for Amicre Cure, African American, Hispanic, Roman Catholic, and Protestant religion, a civil rights organization and leader supporting petitioners. Box v. Planned Parenthood of Indiana, right? He's citing stuff that's already been disproven. Alito's draft opinion explicitly criticizes Lawrence v. Texas, legalizing sodomy, and Obergefell v. Hodges, legalizing same-sex marriage. He says that, like abortion, these decisions protect phony rights that are not deeply rooted in history. So here he is citing Casey. None of these rights have any claim to being deeply rooted in history, which, like, that's like your opinion, man. As you say, historical context right there in your article. So Alito's draft opinion gives a shout out to Amy Coney Barrett's theory that safe haven laws diminish the need for abortion by allowing new parents to relinquish their child lawfully. They note that attitudes about the pregnancy of unmarried women have changed drastically. The federal and state laws ban discrimination on the basis of pregnancy. That leave for pregnancy and childbirth are not guaranteed by law in many cases, that the costs of medical care associated with the pregnancy are covered by insurance or government assistance, right? He's saying that, like, oh, no, you can afford it. Like,
Which is not
safe,
true.
right. Safe haven laws, which generally allow women to drop off babies anonymously, and that a woman who puts her newborn up for adoption today has little reason to fear that the baby will not find a suitable home. I'm sorry, have you seen, like, have you seen adoption age? Sorry, I just, you know, they also claim that many people now have new appreciation of fetal life, and that where prospective parents who want to have a child view a sonogram, they typically have no doubt that what they see is their daughter or son. Yeah, sure, whatever, bro. Try that like at like the first trimester. Try that. You know what I'm saying? You know, have you seen the thing where like the lady put up a picture of what looked like human fetuses, and somebody was like, yeah, but that turns into a human. It's like, this is an elephant and a dog.
Yeah.
Try again.
Right.
But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, see, this is, thank you, Lucy, for that, because I actually didn't see that article before now, so thank you, shout out to you for that. But I think with Lucy, she kind of, it kind of gives a good tie into what I saw and kind of experienced yesterday. Like, I just felt like, here's my take on this, a little fuller now, I could say. I feel like generally anyone, like, if you're willing to go out and protest against something, generally, I feel that's a good thing. If anything, we should be doing more of that, you know, on a more regular basis in this country. So that being said, it kind of, not surprised, but it was kind of a little confusing as to, and I think, Reef, I was mentioning this to you yesterday, like, this seemed to be the issue that riled up people to be willing to go to, you know, Capitol Hill to protest.
Yeah.
Like, nothing regards to Medicare for all, nothing regards to Fight for 15, nothing regards to, I would even say, you know, the housing moratorium, because that was piss poor attended. I was there too. And really the only people that were there were basically like interns and college students. I was probably one of the only few who were older and actually, you know, like these, well, I wouldn't call myself local really, but like who wasn't necessarily connected with government in some way there. So it just was kind of like, huh, this seems to be this of all issues. Not to say it's not a big issue, but this was the issue to get people out, to protest. So
Yeah.
that just kind of irked me a little bit. But there are connections. There is, and I'm glad Ifini and then other people mentioned this yesterday, that along all of that, there's a lot of intersectionality with this issue.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to talk about abortion, you have to talk about Medicare or healthcare. If you got to talk about this issue, you got to talk about housing. If you're going to talk about this issue, you're going to talk about, employment, which the Democrats have basically fucked up on all those issues within the past 2 years. So, and I don't think that, I think the Democrats are right now basically are saying, fuck, and I think they think that and I hope that they don't think that we're that stupid to kind of feel like, oh, if we make this issue an issue that we can use to fundraise on,
right, it'll be the same $2,000.
Then we can secure. Then we can hopefully escape sudden death come fall. My critique of yesterday and moving forward is, if you're going to make this, and I think this is what I think on our end should be saying, to our audiences. If we're going to make this an issue, and not to say that we shouldn't, we got to tie it into every other issue that we've been screaming about for the last few years.
Yeah.
Like, why aren't you talking about, employment? Why are you talking about a living wage? Why are you talking about healthcare? Why are these issues?
I'm happy to see.
Why is this issue seem to be the issue that are having, the Democratic Party up in arms?
Yeah.
And then every other issue is just like, oh, we can't do it, or like, some excuse as far as, oh, it's Manchin's fault, oh, it's the parliamentarians' fault, oh, it's insert this person's fault in the box here. So that's my only issue on this. It's like, I just don't want people to necessarily isolate this issue when there's a whole plethora of issues that we should be demanding for in addition to, if that makes sense.
I'm happy to see that even with this issue, that people are calling out the Dems this time over their lack of action over years and years of not doing anything on this. What I'm worried about is that they're willing to get rid of the, filibuster just to try to pass this.
Right.
So that seems a little weird to me.
Right. Which kind of goes into, if you were willing to, right now they're not saying it. So we don't want to necessarily make that assumption yet. But let's assume that they do this. It kind of shows, oh, fuck, what the hell have you been doing for these other issues this whole time?
Yeah.
Where was this with regards to, giving people healthcare in the middle of a damn pandemic? Where was this issue in regards to a $15 minimum wage? Where is this issue in regards to, the tax credit? Like, all these issues that people, which are very popular, that the Democrats have just let go over the past 2 years. But again, like with abortion, this is the issue that you're willing to go to war for.
Yeah.
Seemingly because the Republicans have been working at this issue which is true, but, and I'm sure you're going to lead into this, but the fact that Democrats had the other opportunity to codify this law basically since, Jimmy Carter, basically, hasn't gone done. So
before I go
had
into,
this in the,
go ahead. Oh, I was going to say, before I go into, you go.
No, you go.
No, you go. I was trying to get Noli a chance to go, so y'all fight
amongst
yourselves.
You guys go ahead. I will save my bitching about this until after we hear Pelosi's fucking bullshit.
Oh, yeah. But well, we can just get right into that then.
Yeah, go ahead.
At least this lady's. I don't know if I have Pelosi's, because I don't even know if I want to listen to that lady today, but I do have this lady's. and I have the other
I hate
ladies
fake
that is very
outrage.
similar.
It fucking pisses me off.
Oh God. And action.
Upset, angry and upset and determined. The United States Congress can keep Roe versus Wade the law of the land. They just need to do it.
I've never seen you so angry. You seem to be...
This is what the Republicans have been working toward this day for decades. They have been out there plotting, carefully cultivating these Supreme Court justices so they could have a majority on the bench who would accomplish something that the majority of Americans do not want. 69% of people across this country, red states and blue states, old people and young people, want Roe versus Wade to maintain as the law of the land. We need to do that. And we have a right. Extremists, we've heard enough from the extremists. And we're tired of it. Thank you.
Senator, does this open the door for any constitutional rights?
So there's one performance on this.
Yeah.
Would we like to see another? Just one more performance.
Sure.
Oh, I normally don't like watching this lady, so. And action.
If we're going to sit around and wait for our elected lawmakers to protect us from these religious zealots and these right-wing authoritarians, man, we have another thing coming. How many times do we need to be disappointed by them? I'm done with them. And personally, I don't speak for everyone in this network. I want to be clear. I'm speaking for myself. I'm done with them completely. The Democratic Party, every single one of them, that includes the squad, I don't care anymore. They have not delivered. They have not delivered. I'm done. Okay. It's time to organize, create organizations that get women and get people in this country what they need. People who are willing to pick up the slack for these disgusting, feckless, corrupt politicians. That's what we need to focus on. If we're gonna sit around and wait.
No, I'm not listening to you again. God. Please, your thoughts.
Noli, go ahead.
Okay, so like I said, there's this thing called fake outrage, okay? So I had somebody get mad at me during their live stream and like stand up at their desk and like start yelling at me, but it was like half-hearted at first, and then it was like, oh, hell no. And I just like, dude, that is the fakest fucking outrage I've ever seen in my life. I am laughing my ass off. This shit's fucking funny. Oh. I feel the same way with these bitches. They don't mean what they say. I mean, Pelosi's part of the fucking problem. She's part of the reason why this is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, she is one of the people who laid down, rolled over, and allowed it to happen. She was one of the people who had the power to do something and did nothing. So she can fucking eat me. And that other bitch, that was just a bunch of fake bullshit outrage. I'm sorry. That was all fucking bad acting, in my opinion. And that's just my opinion. She might really be mad about it. I'm sure she's had an abortion or 10. But
damn.
But you know what though? Here's what I'm a little pissed off at for being there. Like, and again, I want to be somewhat respectful because like
I don't know, say it plainly. Say it plainly.
People like the people who are speaking, you know, like because I was there when Warren came up on stage to speak. If you were able to watch our live stream yesterday, you were able to see Liz Warren do her speech. What I wish would have happened was whoever was speaking or the speakers who were up on stage with her called her out on their bullshit. You know, like I wish they would have said, you know what, like all due respect, but where have you been? Your party has been sitting on your hands this whole time. Like you have a law right now that you can kind of codify to make abortion legal right now. Where the fuck have you been? Like they allowed her to speak and I was basically yelling, you know, but I was too far in the back. So I don't think people were necessarily, well, two things. Like I was basically yelling in the back, like not to the way you can hear me in the AOC clip that went, Cori Bush clip that went viral. Like I was basically yelling at Liz Warren, basically saying, you know, like your party is just, if not more responsible regarding this. And there were a few people just around me who were kind of nodding in agreement, but the rest, again, this was like 1,000 people, were just kind of like zombies. Like they were all just kind of taking in what Liz Warren was saying and clapping and all that kind of stuff. Like, mindless drones. So, again, I want to be so respectful because there were activists there who were saying the right thing, but really there should have been more outrage than there should have been. Like, I felt like it was a little bit more contained, like people were calling out Joe Biden, as Reef was playing. But to me personally, it didn't really feel authentic. I think people were just kind of being riled up, kind of like what we saw Liz Warren, kind of like what we saw with Anna, all kind of reactive in the moment. My question is, where do people go from here, like as far as that outrage? Are they going to continue going on, continue going to the Supreme Court to continue to protest? Or are they going to go home like within the next 2 weeks? And
my thing is like, we get a clip of Anna saying she's done with the Democratic Party. I'll take it. Because every time she mentions any blue, everyone's going to send that. Like, right. And the fact that they even have to give this lip service, right? Like, is telling, It means that there's going to be some, people that are trying to be part of this party that are going to, try to shed this water off them that I don't think is possible.
But you know what? I just thought about this before it went live. I would take to heart what Anna was saying if she mentioned, like, don't vote for Democrats, don't give them your money.
Don't give them any money.
Vote for a party or independent. If she said that, then I'll be like, okay, maybe I could buy it. She said everything else. She talked about organizing. She talked about even mutual aid. But stop short of saying vote Democrat. Don't vote Democrat rather. Like, so I can't take her too seriously unless she says that. So, I mean, we all know that she was being very reactive in that moment, but come midterms, we know she's going to say, we got to vote for whoever, especially given what will happen as far as, Roe v. Wade thing, like it will probably like scare enough people to be like, oh, we have to vote Democrat for this issue. So I think just for me, again, like, especially for our audience and anyone who listens to this, don't buy into the hype, just don't make this issue isolated. Think about the other issues that we can connect it to and demand that and continuing demanding for more than besides this. Because, and this is kind of what I say to people who are like, like the pro-choice, pro-life debate, like, if you care about a fetus, you should care about a child when they're born, and the idea that they're able to have a good education, that they're able to get the healthcare, that they're able to get the home, that they're able to have, families who are able to pay their way to make sure that they're healthy and thriving. You got to be willing to think of all of that if you're just going to care for the fetus. And if you are for Republicans and Democrats who are cutting all these programs to essentially help families not being able to provide for their kids in the way that they should, then you're full of bullshit.
Well,
and that's I don't think
people understand the ramifications of that if it does happen. Like, people still don't. I know a bunch of friends who are on this issue. They're not great, and part of it for me is, go watch George Carlin talk about it. He pretty much says the same thing you did, Collin. Like, there's no prenatal care. There's no decent, like, orphan situation. Like, there's the adoption agencies are the worst, right? Like, my sister grew up in them. They're not great, but, my mother worked at an abortion clinic for a long time, right? To the point where, they knew, like, they had to take, it was in Mississippi, right? And they had to take, like, overwork from, like, the clinic in Alabama, because that was the closest one. It was like the closest other one to go to, right? So imagine you having to travel that distance just to do that anyway, right? but because they had gotten a bomb threat, and that was like in the 70s and 80s. Like, it's still that way, like this religion dictates these people's opinions, and I don't want to just say religion, because it's this whole community of thinking on this. Right. But it was to the point where they knew the protesters really well. When one didn't show up, the head of the clinic called them and said, "Hey, are they okay?" Ended up guy was in the hospital with, like, pretty bad, and like they sent flowers and checked on him and like changed this whole dude's opinion. They never saw him at a protest after that. So I think this is again about exposure, and it's about making demands. There's demands here. And if you're out in the streets for all of these demands, right, the issue is making sure we have the right ones, and making sure that there's no takesy backsies. There's no, you gotta put them on the table and have them be there and not back down off of them, and continue to ask for more on top of that, because I'm tired of all our resources going to the military myself. So,
yeah, I mean, so yeah, I think for me, like, it was kind of a mixed bag for me. I think, again, just being there yesterday, like, again, I appreciate any sort of direct action protesting, like, for the most part, I think it's a necessary thing. We need to do that more in this country. But again, I don't want it to be the issue that, galvanizes people. Like, this should be also, like, if anything, I'm just asking for more, but not like, don't just make this about abortion. Make this connection in regards to healthcare. Make this connection in regards to housing. Make this connection in regards to, employment. Make it so, like, people are able to live and thrive in this country and being able to take care of themselves and their families without having to worry about, like, all these issues that I think people just avoid because, for whatever reason, and then like blaming women for wanting to have a procedure done to essentially give them a chance of, having the life that, that they feel that they should, like, knowing personally, like, I have family members who have had abortions. It's a tough decision to make.
Yeah.
And each case, depending on the idea of abortion, is a very nuanced issue, depending on the family, depending on the woman, depending on the circumstances. And, like, if you're the type that doesn't believe in that, great. You don't have to have that for yourself, but you shouldn't have to force people to think and believe in the thing that you don't want because due to what your religion or your beliefs or whatever else.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think, so yeah, I mean, it's just the idea of, like, this leak, this was on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, this was on purpose, like, because the Democrats are, like, failing at everything. This is merely just a distraction, just as far as to get us off of thinking about student loan debt and all these other issues that they've just take a dump on.
Well, it's over.
Just so people would be focused on this issue.
Yeah.
And my thing is just like, don't be distracted. Like, these issues are still very much a thing, and we need to focus on them in addition to.
No, I agree with you. To me, this is the Democrats continuing to try to go, well, where else are you going to go? Right? Like, it's one of those, like, if you don't like this, they're going to blame the Republicans constantly. Like, this is more of that, right? Even though they aren't in power, right? So, and this is over. We don't even know if this decision is going to be made yet.
Right.
Like, we just don't. And it's telling that if this is the issue that they're worried about, there's so many other issues the court can be trying to deal with, and they're just not, So I find that telling as well, that we're even thinking about this again. Like, it just baffles me. But you know, in Capitalist 65, when Republicans win back the House and Senate, bet me they won't abolish the ACA, and first off will likely be to remove coverage of abortions in your health insurance policies. I can't not, like, sure, like, but who would have gotten them there? Whose fault is it that they are in office? This is the issue, right? You can't blame the voters.
To be honest, I don't think the Republicans want to get rid of abortion either.
I don't either necessarily. I mean, I think some of them.
This is a way for them to fundraise too.
I don't think they care.
You know? No,
They're gonna do whatever it takes. Like, okay, if this is an issue that their base is like passionate about, they'll be like, all right, but they don't really care. They don't care either way. Like, their donors might care, if anything, right? But otherwise, it's not. I mean, they're just as bought as the Democrats.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a way for them to kind of help fuel that culture war going.
And how many Democrats we just showed? We just showed Biden talking about it. I guarantee you, Hillary talked about it in disparaging ways. Yeah. I guarantee all of them, other than maybe one or two.
Tim McCain, her running mate was pro-abortion,
right? Pro-life. You mean? Yeah. I don't think it's necessarily, like, to me, this is fear mongering to get you to vote blue.
Yeah,
like that's what this is same as vote $2,000, and you just got to vote blue, Georgia, and we'll give you that money. And then, like, barely anyone saw a portion of that. Then they brought that down to what, 1,600, because we already gave you 200. Who does that? They do. They're just trying to do just enough to get you to vote for them. So
yeah,
I wish I knew, but I think we spoke just about enough on this issue. Yeah. I know I am.
Moving on.
But anyway, let's I was waiting to see if Noli would come back, but she's indisposed at the moment. She said to hold her purse, so we will do that. Let me pull up our slides. We have your stuff on deck, don't we?
Yes.
Dope. Let's go. You need to see that. And people need to see this.
I don't want to talk about this too much. This will probably be, for me, a very short segment. So in case you didn't know, so Nina had her second congressional run against Shontel Brown over the last few weeks. They had their election yesterday, and basically what we were saying, many of us on the left who are not like jaded or I think jaded in the right way, in being able to look at the situation on a more realistic level rather than a hopeful level, that we predicted that Nina Turner would probably lose.
Yeah.
And sure enough, she did. If you could pull the next slide.
Yes, again.
So I just pulled this just before we went live, so this is the most up to date.
Okay.
But
I wonder who won. I wonder who won at this gigantic district being all one color. 33.7%. Nina, what were you doing? You outraised her.
I should have pulled that, but I feel like she did worse. Well, no.
She outraised her. Outraised Shontel Brown.
Right.
Yeah.
But I feel in some ways she did worse this time than she did in the first.
Oh, very much so. If it was smart, they would have made this a lot closer. They did not.
Right. So we saw this last night, and basically the way it was looking, even early on, it was just kind of at that point, I think it was only maybe about 20% of the polling precincts had
turned in. It was very similar to this.
Turned in yet, but I think even last night when we were prepping for tonight, we were just like, ooh, you know, like
Yeah.
this isn't good. This is not looking good. And then sure
No.
enough, they call AP. AP called it like around 10 Eastern Standard Time last night that, you know, Chantal won. You know, so
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, this was bad, not even bad, just shit, you know, for Nina this time around.
Yeah.
You know, so, but yeah, like it's not a surprise to us, but I think, but it's a surprise to some of the bigger channels, like, you know, like Status Quo, and like as you saw, like TYT, you know, really took this to heart, you know, and I think rightly so, given the investment / access that they had to Nina.
Yeah.
You know, so it makes sense that they took it away. Actually, I just need to just need to see. But yeah, I just been a little upset with Jordan. I think just to kind of extend on my rants from last week, you know, regarding, you know, him retweeting JB and basically Jay Buffon.
I wanted to bring up,
And-
you know, last election, right? Someone said something very similar to JB then, right? And it was, he should be in the chat somewhere. Indy left, right? And Jordan brought up one of his tweets in an article and tried to say the same thing about nihilism and all this stuff. And Indy wasn't having any of that. He was like, nope. So, you know, I'm glad JB also just went, yeah, no. Like,
yeah.
Welcome back, Noli. You haven't missed much. We're just talking about Nina Turner's terrible loss.
I was ear hustling the whole time.
No, you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
But okay, so let's go. You want me to go to this, right? And
yeah,
hit
but
this
I
play
want to
button?
set this up first. So
Go
like,
ahead.
yeah, I've just been really, I would honestly, like the way Jordan just kind of punched down at JB, you know, like those of you who are familiar, you know, and if you want to know, watch last week's stream. But so I think actually on Sunday, you know, because, you know, and this will lead into something that I will talk about later, but I think the idea of like, you know, especially a lot of these bigger channels are just really pushing for electoralism, and the idea of like, you know, all we need is just to get enough progressive people in the party, and just by magic, there will be these progressive policies that will be implemented, which, as we've seen over the past few years, has not materialized. And no one is necessarily asking, especially, well, very few people, I think, are asking the question of what is a politician's strategy to combat against, you know, corporate interests within, in our case, the Democratic Party. Like no one necessarily is really pushing Democrats to ask and answer that question. And so Sunday, it was Sunday, I sent Jordan a super chat. Basically, because I knew he did this interview. I asked him for the super chat. So when you interviewed Nina, did you ask her like what was her strategy towards combating the corporate interests that exist within the Democratic Party? And he basically said, you know, I did. You need to watch this interview. So I did watch this interview prior to, and so I had the pleasure, or displeasure, if you want to call it that. Like I watched this 4 times.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, it's fine. Like, but I just wanted to be accurate, just to make sure, like, if Jordan really asked that question.
Yeah.
And so we clipped out the part where seemingly and where he asked that question, but I want you guys to notice what Nina said in response. So yeah, if you play it, I might ask you to pause it at a point, but yeah, if you want to play it.
Sound?
If we got to sugar, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. A lot of the progressives that activists, knocked on doors, made the calls for, donated to get in there. Their version of agitating has been to write letters to President Biden, asking him kindly on student loan debt cancellation and climate, or getting meetings with his chief of staff as victories. But they have not chosen to agitate. In my view, whether you chalk it up to naivete or political threats that have been made, that you're gonna get backbenched. You won't have these committee assignments, whatever it is. The squad, to a lesser degree, Bernie. What if you get elected? Because you mentioned winning. What should people expect? I mean, I know you pretty well. I don't really think you're going in there to kindly write letters. But for example, right now, student loan debt. Would people be able to expect you to go to publicly challenge the president to cancel student loan debt, to be out there with activists? We could go down the list, the climate protests, this and that. I think what people are looking for is not just progressives that share our policy vision, but actually have a strategy to fight and exert power once in Congress.
That's exactly right, Jordan. And I understand.
So Jordan here was asking her, like, basically, if you go into Congress, are you going to push Biden? And I actually kind of thought about this last night when I was rewatching. I didn't like the framing of the question because we've seen the squad, very gently criticize Joe Biden, like maybe even Nancy. No, no. Like, I don't think they call out Nancy Pelosi even at all, really. But like, they do criticize lightly, Joe Biden at points. But, I'll get more into this later, but I don't think even the issue is really the president, really.
Yeah.
Or even Nancy Pelosi. The biggest issue is the corporations who are basically doing that Biden and Pelosi and others are doing the bidding for. So the question should have been, in my opinion, what are you going to do to counter the corporate interests that have taken the leadership of the party? So I don't think Jordan really asked the right question there. But let's continue, but let's see what Nina says, like, in regards to his question, like, are you going to challenge Joe Biden? So go ahead.
Yes, sir.
And I feel that, and that's not to say that I am going to agree with every tactic that the movement agrees with, but I've already, by way of example, been out there for the debt, for the cancellation of student debt. And I want to shout out in this moment, the Debt Collective. I was invited to be with them. It's probably been about 3 weeks ago now. We were in DC in front of the education department's building. And it was a beautiful sight to see activists from all over the country stand in solidarity with one another to say to the president, send a message to the Secretary of Education that this debt can be canceled. So yeah, I was there. See, I haven't stopped, Jordan. That's really what I want this movement to understand, that even though I am running for this seat, I didn't win it last time, but that didn't stop me. I've been side by side with Sherwin-Williams workers right here in my district, side by side with the Starbucks workers in my district, and have been requested to go all over the country. I went to New York too to stand side by side with those Starbucks workers, with the Amazon workers. Bessemer got this party started. I'm so proud and happy, and I know that Status Quo, you all have been out there from the beginning. A Christian Smalls doing the daggone thing under some intense situations when people counted him out. He was doing the work. I too have been and continue to do the work, whether I have that extra special title or not, because I believe in the mission to help change material conditions of the people of this great nation, starting with my district. But I do understand this, Jordan, that what happens over there happens over here. That's why I went to Bessemer, Alabama. What happens over there happens over here. I was invited even after the special election last year by some of our sisters and brothers over in the UK. Why? Because they see my fight. That is what it is. So I'm not going to change that. Yes, when the president needs to be challenged, I am going to challenge. When there are things that we agree on, I'm going to be right there too. For example, the Iran nuclear deal that the current congressperson decided, oh, she's not for it, with 17 other Democrats. One of the signature foreign policies of President Barack Obama, President Trump did the wrong thing by getting us out of the deal. Glad to see President Biden fighting to get us back in the deal. That is something that he and I would agree on, and that I would be there. So it's not this, we're going to be fighting all the time, but when it comes down to making sure that there is the sufficient fight for what will help my constituents and other people in this country, whether it's canceling student debt. I'm not changing on Medicare for all. I'm not the one that just signed on to it conveniently. Check my record. I've been out there fighting for it, confronting power for it. And I'm going to continue to do that.
And,
all right, you can stop.
Yeah.
Like,
how is she fighting for it? Like, how is she doing anything? What is she doing?
Right. She didn't
what?
answer. She
What
didn't
has she
answer
done?
right. I think she didn't answer the question. Like,
No.
she just talked about like the performative things that she's done as far as, you know, in relation to activists who are working on the ground, but not relating to how is she going to use that to push, well, in this case, Joe Biden to move left, essentially. There was no talk about that, how she's going to counter Joe Biden, you know, on any of these issues. But again, the issue is not Joe Biden, it's the corporate interest within the party. So the fact that I think Jordan phrased it wrong,
Yeah.
and then Nina just kind of went off on this tangent of nothing, you know, and Jordan didn't even challenge her, you know, on that, I think
I'm
is
sick of
very
that.
telling.
Sick of seeing that.
Yeah. So, so yeah, I just got really, I think especially with Jordan, like for some reason or another, like he's really just pissed me off for like the last 2 weeks, especially, you
To me,
know.
it feels like he should know better.
Right.
I mean, that's
He
our
should know
issue.
better given, he should know better given like he's been to Flint. You know, he's done a lot of reporting on Flint, and he's mad that people are not talking about Flint enough, which I can understand that, but he's had the opportunity to talk to people on the ground, you know, like as far as their issues and everything. And he should feel, I think he should be more capable of asking. I feel like in a lot of ways, he asked tougher questions to like voters versus what he did here, you know, with Nina. Like that was basically a softball interview that he gave to her. And at the end of the day, it's just a matter of access, because basically like he traveled to Cleveland and basically followed Nina like a puppy dog, like for the last few days,
Yeah.
you know, in the hope that, oh, I'm going to get this big story, you know, regarding her win or whatever, and probably rub it in our face, you know, as far as, look, like all you have to like see if like all the naysayers who said that Nina couldn't win and whatever else, you know, like, basically I told you so. I'm glad that, you know, like, you know, we were actually right in this case. And like now, like, I'm not sure how he's going to deal with this now.
Well,
but
I kind of wish that she had won, only because it would then show Jordan, look, she's not going to do anything for you either.
Right.
Like,
but I don't think it really matters that much. Well, it matters to us because he will just excuse it. Like it would just be like, oh, you know, like, you know, just give her a chance, you know, like, again, it's more that gentle criticism, just that slap on the wrist.
Right.
You know, versus what Jimmy Dore would say, you know, like, if the politicians are not doing what we want them to do, how do we keep them accountable? Besides just saying on Twitter or on your channel, oh, you did that. You know, what is the mechanism that lets them know we're pissed and you need to do better? There's no talk in connection. Well, very rarely, you know, there's talk, you know, about that at all.
Do it next. Just burn it all down.
Yeah, no, I mean, at this point, you know, I'm handing out inflatable guillotines, you know, near DC. I feel like that'll work. Just like helium, like give them to the kids. Kids love balloons. Let them walk. Let that happen, right? You get out there, like Like, when do the politicians not work? I mean, but like, no, really, you know, like what day? Because if you got out there like that night and like set up little thing and started handing out balloons, right? Like, dude, that would be hilarious for one. Like, yeah, I would be very much down for that. But look, Jordan, come on, man, get it together, please.
Yeah, can you pull the next slide? So
yes, I can.
So our comrade colleague in the network, Chris Legion, tweeted this out.
Yeah.
And yeah, you showed me this, Reef, actually.
Yes.
So and like
the beginning of the meltdown from Jordan. The beginning.
Basically. So yeah, if you want, just play the whole thing.
Yeah, I got you, fam.
And then with
But what are, like Jimmy and these others, what is their strategy for seizing power? And if they have one, why aren't they on the front lines doing it? Because if their strategy is a third party, then why aren't they involved actually organizing a third party? If their strategy is a general strike, why aren't they involved organizing local groups to create local economic boycotts? You're not going to have a general strike overnight, but you could create local economic hubs in your community to protest a grocery store, a local bank, this and that. Like YouTube marathons talking about a general strike or not organizing. It's just YouTube shows.
Okay, so two things there. Number one, Jordan mentioned, you know, like, why isn't Jimmy Dore and others like talking about strategy? That's not his job. Like, believe it or not, that's not his job. And that's not even our job. That's a politician's job. That's the politicians are meant to figure that part out.
Right.
You know, like,
also, Jimmy's done a lot more than you have, Jordan. Like, a lot more. Like, the dude shows up to marches. Like, he shows up to things. Like, the march that, like, your girl didn't show up to, that one, right? That Medicare for All one that she was supposed to show up for. Jimmy showed up to the one in LA. He showed the fuck up. Then he wants to talk about a third party. Say what you want about MPP. Jimmy was trying to organize part of that.
But you know what? Here's the thing. You know, like, we have issues with MPP. We're not going to go into that. But like, at least there's right now nothing going on with MPP right now. So
right. I have nothing to support or hate right now with
Cenk
that, so.
and Kyle have people who are actively in Congress due to Justice Democrats, the foundation that they co-founded together.
Yes.
And they haven't done shit.
Yeah.
So maybe
I'm still
you
convinced.
should call out Cenk, your former employer, Jordan, and Kyle, as to why the very organization of which were meant to challenge the establishment aren't doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So why are you mentioning that? Because at least with MPP, there's no one in there.
Right.
You know, you got several progressive Democrats in there, Justice Democrats.
Yeah.
Who aren't doing what they're meant to do. So that's number one. That's the first thing. Like,
yeah.
And again, that goes into my point before, you know, like, instead of berating Jimmy, that's what he should have asked Nina.
Yes.
You know, that's what he should ask every politician. Like, what is your strategy?
Questions, Jordan? You remember those questions you used to ask people like Donna Brazil? Remember those questions? Do those. I know someone told you those questions to ask, but go ask that person again. I'm hoping it was Jimmy that thought of that. Right? Because, like, you need someone else telling you what to do, obviously. You're not capable of doing it yourself. I still think he wouldn't have left TYT unless he was kicked out. I still think that.
No.
And Jordan can't prove to me otherwise.
And then
so Jordan has me muted anyway, so why do I care?
And the other thing is low-key shaded RBN again.
Yeah, again.
You know, in terms of like, oh, like having a general strike summit doesn't do anything. You know,
there's a lot more than whatever you're doing.
Right. You know, like, no, and no, it's not perfect, but at least it's a way to kind of have people talking about these issues,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not like these are people who are like politically minded in that way or having these connected in that way. We're regular people, you know, trying to do something. And then along with that, you know, also kind of low key dissing Rome, who
Yeah.
actually does this shit
Get the
on the
fuck, gives the
regular,
shoes off his fucking feet.
and like, you know, who's actually trying to do the work, and Athene, who's actively trying to do the work, and others who
Yeah.
we're connected with in the space who are actively trying to do the work.
Misty,
like hell,
Fee,
like, yeah, I
like-
mean, hell, like, Jordan, we appreciate you like for your journalism, but you know, but you don't often highlight the work that, you know, others who are not necessarily connected with the stories that you care about are doing, you know? So it's easy for you to say like, oh, what are people doing? Because are you seeing what people doing, or are you connecting to what people are doing? You
Yeah.
know, like, so yeah, I think that just really made me upset, you know, just in terms of like how, like, in his meltdown, he punched down, you know, he got mad at like RBN.
Yeah,
he
he's
got
voter
mad at,
shaming.
like, right. And it's like,
it's only
no,
gonna get worse.
The question that you should have asked just then, the first part of your rant, you should have asked Nina.
Yeah.
Like, which you didn't because you wanted to have access to her to get like almost like an exclusive story to take to Crystal Ball and Kyle Kalinske and Saga and Jetty. You know, like, you know, you should have asked them
Well,
that then. Like,
and you're
why are you talking
also-
about Jimmy Dore?
Follow-up questions, bro. I know you got like things written down you want to get to because you're fucking fangirling out. I get it. But having said that, when she says a fucking word salad on a question that's important, follow up. Ask again for specifics, not pacifics, as Collin would like to ask you to do as well. But specifics. Details, bro. Like, because you know that if they give those to you, they then have to give other details to someone else. Right? This is how you unravel these strings. I know you know this. You went to journalism school, I think, right? Like, I don't know how
Actually,
this
don't know
is
his background, to be honest.
I don't know.
So.
Fox, I remember he worked there at one point. Then TYT, so our batting average isn't great so far.
Yeah.
But you know, it calls into question his original reporting. There's still people that question those two things that he, like, both Standing Rock and Flint. There's people that have like some stuff to say on those matters. Go ask Fee what she thinks of that. You know, especially when he was calling for the censorship of Convo Couch not that long ago, and still probably feels that way. You know, so again, this is you owe fucking Fee and Glory and Misty all a box of chocolate. You know, some fucking flowers. You have to fucking do some apologies, bro.
Right.
I feel like those.
He could start with JB. He could start with RBN. He could start there. And yeah, I'm gonna call him out for a second, but like, Jordan did express that he was gonna have JB on his show.
Yeah.
He has yet to make that offer to him. But I hope he fucking apologizes to JB for kind of like the low-key shade he was giving him as far as his tweet and then the network he's connected with. You know, because again, like, especially for Rome, like, who's actively doing the work, you know, and then Jordan kind of slides in and being like, and again, I think a lot of this is in connection to Jimmy, but, you know, like, you didn't have to take out like people who are actively doing the work in order to try and prove a point, which, by the way, you're wrong.
He probably doesn't even know that that work's being done. Like,
no. He wouldn't have dared said that if he knew.
Right.
But I think because it's just like he just sees people of color who are trying to organize and trying to do certain things, like, you know, that he's again, like, not to say they're affiliated, but you know, like Nick and both Savvy now have both been on Jimmy's show.
Yeah.
So like, and I think because Jimmy has connected on a few things that they have put out, then like, oh, that's a means to slander, you
And
know.
I don't see you calling out Savvy, who said the same shit. Like, you know, I mean, she'll, like, that's who he should try to fucking start shit with. She'll fuck him up. Like, let her go on that show. See what happens.
Well, Savvy's in the chat. Love to you, Savvy. He says he does know. I'm sure he does.
Oh, of course.
So,
like,
you know.
we've all told him that before he did the same thing to Indy on a tweet from last year's election. We were saying the same thing. And what does he do? Like, you know, try to call out Indy for quote unquote nihilism, right? Like, really? How many times you got to be like heartbroken here, Jordan? How many times? Like, it's very frustrating.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating. And you should figure it the fuck out.
Yeah. Pull up the next slides. I'm actually glad Savvy is here because I want to shout out Savvy for a second for these couple of slides. Just to give her some love, because I think, you know, Savvy is one of the few who does talk about this a lot. And I think really everyone in independent media should be talking more about this too.
Yeah.
But she tweeted out yesterday, Nina Turner said that the squad was threatened, so that's why they didn't endorse her. I say this again for the 100th time. Until you get money out of politics, this Dem reform strategy won't work.
Yeah.
The party is owned by Wall Street. Next slide.
Yep. Oh, where did it go? What? Okay, this one. There you go.
I tried to tell people multiple times that the #1 problem is the money, which I discuss almost every episode. I include receipts, graphs, etc. I also analyze past election donors as well. The entire party is bought. So, you know, Jordan knows this, Crystal knows this, all the bigger channels know this, and they never ask, you know, in their interviews, if they lucky, you know, what is your strategy to get corporate money out of politics? They never ask that.
Well, they never ask
that.
The same thing I've asked for every time I've talked to a politician is the same thing. How are you going to make it to where you are not corrupted? And how are you going to take on that corruption? What enemies will you make?
Right.
Right? Like that. They can't answer me. They give me the same thing that AOC gave. That's the answer they gave. I'm just going to be a one-term. What? That doesn't work.
That's not our responsibility to figure that out. That's their job, not ours.
Yeah.
Our job is to organize and do direct action in light of the strategy that they have towards pushing like the powers that be towards moving to the policies that they want. You know, like basically our role is to show up whenever they call us to in terms of direct action and mutual aid, which they don't do. So Savvy has also put this chart on the last slide, and then I'm done with this.
Yeah.
But, you know, and I want people to really look at this slide, because I think the huge problem that I see, you know, in the space, and I tweeted about this morning, is that they make politics a cult of personality. It's the idea of like, oh, Manchin is bad, or Sinema is bad, or Biden is bad, or Harris is bad, or like insert a name, they're bad, you know. But if you look at the chart, if you look at the right, the corporate feudalism side, you could see like on that side of the triangle where our elected politicians are.
Yeah.
And look who's above them. You know, they're not running the show, you guys. You know, it's a corporate elites, it's a banker, it's the banks that are basically telling the corporate interests, as we say, you
Mm.
know, who are running the show. They're the ones who are telling these politicians, you know, what to do. You know, I kind of make the example of like, you know, Obama, for example, was against gay marriage for the longest time.
Yeah.
You know, and the corporate powers that be, I think, suddenly realized, oh, we could profit off of this, you know, let's make it legal.
Yeah.
You know, and all of a sudden, I think, when was it? Back in what, 2014?
Something like that.
Yeah. Like, and I only remember that because, like, I think it was that year forward. I didn't see things for Pride Month, like in stores prior to that year. And then all of a sudden, you know, like like right now, like in stores, you're going to see merchandise for Pride. Never
Yeah.
saw that before prior to that. You know, that's all due to corporations.
Yeah.
You know, that's not on Obama, you know, like making gay marriage legal in this country. That's all on the corporations. So, you know, they're running the show. And I think people need to remember that this is not a cult of personality when it comes to politics. This is a matter of corporate interests, like capturing these politicians for whatever reason, money and whatever, to do their bidding.
Yeah.
So any person that is not asking those questions regarding what they're going to do about corporate interests that underline both parties, don't take them serious.
Yeah, I agree. What about you, Noli? What's your takes? What about you?
It's all a bunch of fucking bullshit. That's my
basically.
No,
Well
it's all a bunch of bullshit.
fucking
It's a bunch of
said.
fucking hot air. They're all playing on the same goddamn team. Okay, it's it's a bunch of bullshit. And having that woman turn around and try and blame activists for her decisions, fuck that. Who the hell? I bet she blames her parents for the way her fucking life turned out too.
Oh.
Just, no, fuck these people, dude. Fuck these people. They're fucking idiots.
I feel you so much. Oh, fucking well said. All right, what else we got? I think we're coming up on. Oh, I think I gotta grab this. Hold on, I had to go here, and then this bit, and then this bit. Let's see, which one was this one? Oh yeah, this. Which you,
Wait.
I mean, this was
What you
was
got?
at the loss, right?
Oh,
This
no.
right here.
Oh my
So,
god, yeah, this
this
is
is-
horrible.
This is what she thinks is good.
We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright.
Are we?
We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright. We gon' be alright.
Yeah,
I
with all
think-
the poor folks' dollars still
No.
calculated, you're gonna be just fine.
No, I tweeted this even last night, I think last night, like, you will be all right.
Yeah.
We won't.
We gon' be alright. 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 Bring it down.
And what is this shit? She's gonna run for president?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
What is that?
Uh-huh. Like the narrator. Gotta grab the narrator. Narrator. They were not, in fact, going to be all right. Fucking yup. Oh, like
It makes me mad because you know what the thing is so many people had faith in her a few years back. And I remember digging through her history and being like, but wait, she used to take dark money. What the fuck? Why are you people supporting this woman? She used to take dark money. Hey, look over here. I got the proof. Look over here. And
yeah.
nobody would look my way. And I was just like, fucking, I think it is amazing if we can get a person of color up in any fucking branch of goddamn government, because I think that their decisions will be the same way I feel about natives. I think that their decisions will be more in tune with the people. But just because you're native or just because you're black or Mexican or whatever does not mean that you are not just, you don't have to be white to be a white supremacist. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Mhm.
And you don't have to be
Yep.
white to be a corporate shill. I mean, fucking fuck.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. No, we're preaching to the choir, lady. Like, I feel you. Oh, like I'm very much tired of that.
And the people that I want to run for office, they're like, hell no, I don't fucking want it.
No, like
no, because
and it's like, God damn it, why not? I get that you don't want it, but we need you to have it.
I mean, the issue is, like, I think part of it is when I think about that, when people pose that question to me, right? It's like, what could I do? One individual does not power make. Like, you need resources. Like, and until we seize the means of those, like,
that little town that I'm investigating, their local politics, literally everybody that is on the sheriff's department, in the police department, that's on any kind of form of council or the mayor or is commissioner of the county or is involved in the DOJ, they're all blood related.
Yeah,
they're all connected to each other. The fucking prosecutor, he had his license pulled from him. He was a convicted fucking criminal. But because of who his daddy is, he gets his license back, and he is now a prosecutor in that town. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is the kind of shit that we're up against. It's all about nepotism, and it's fucking insane. We're never there. Whoever they want in office is who's going to be in office. It doesn't matter fucking, and the thing is whoever is running on either side of the fence, they're the same motherfucker. They're the same person.
Yep.
The same outcome is going to happen no matter who you vote in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna start trying to sleep my way in. I think that's about the best way to get any nepotism. So for me, so we're gonna try that, and I'll let y'all know what happens. I mean, I bet I could get a few. Like I could pull Nancy. I'm betting. I could pull that. So, but I'm gonna have to wear 5. Oh, I don't even want to think about that. Gross, icky, gross. But we do have Miss Noli's lovely reporting here for us. I hope I have everything in a way that makes sense, Noli. So we'll see how it goes.
Dude, it is totally my fault. So
oh no, you're good. I got you. It's good enough. We're not the government work around here, So youths volunteers uncover more hidden slaves graves in historic black cemetery, and this is Rockingham, you said?
Yes, this is in Rockingham. So some of you may remember Rockingham from Talking with Blind Justice.
Yes.
So one of the areas where he has ran into some serious problems and was actually, they lived there and ran out of town because of him using a camera. Essentially, that's the only reason that they really had to be angry with him. Okay. Was that he went into a public area with a camera and people didn't like it. But that's how he gets around. He's fucking blind, people.
Right. Like, what is it? He doesn't have the echolocation figured out yet. All right. So just give him some time.
He kind of does in a way, but
yeah. But
this cemetery is a cemetery that was given to the black community over 120, 130 years ago.
Okay.
When this old man died, who used to be a slave owner, he died, he gave this 1,000 acres to the black community so that they had a place to bury their dead.
Right.
And
so the article goes, as Trenton Phelps parted waist-high grass last fall, which we have pictures later, to uncover tombstones here, he realized he could only rally young hands to help reveal part of his small southern hometown's African-American history. Some 9 months later, the teen and other community volunteers and historians are poised to ask state and federal agencies to designate Citizen Cemetery, which sits within the bounds of the town's pre-Civil War black settlement Freetown, as a protected historic site. These were the people who helped the town, who built this town and did a lot of work and helped Madison become what it is today. Phelps, 17, said of the more than 325 grave sites in the long-neglected burial grounds on Nichols Street, where volunteer researchers have already discovered the graves of 9 slaves, When I first came here and I saw all the grass up high, and when I started reading all the names and going to the graves, it gave me a real human-like feeling. And I thought, how could these people be buried like this? Said Phelps, who, with his father Travis Phelps and other town and community members, orchestrated a transformative cleanup of the site in late fall. Trenton gathered other young members of the service club, Your Community United Juniors, or YCUJ, and his dad coordinated with Madison town manager Kevin Bond and local attorney Jack Webster. Bond volunteered time and equipment for the spruce up, along with Chief Mike Rutherford and Captain Jason Hood of the Madison Police Department. The effort also saw local landscaper Sean Reeder and leaders of area black churches turn out with weed eaters and mowers to skirt marked and unmarked graves. After bushwhacking tall grasses, youngsters moved in with soapy buckets and brushes and scrubbed mildew and dirt from scads of monuments marking well-known names in the black community. Mosley, Dalton, Scales, LeSueur, Camp, Wall, Faust, and more. Since then, the Phelps father-son team, YCUJ Kids, and dozens of volunteers have shifted the task of recording names and tallying the numbers of graves along the rolling acreage where dozens upon dozens of unmarked plots appear as gentle divots. When kids got out here to clean the thing, they started asking real questions. Who are these people? How many graves are there? And who were they in life? Said Travis Phelps. As moms, dads, and grandpas, we couldn't answer those, so that's how the research started. The youth's enthusiastic burst in response to finding historic evidence is a type of curiosity that's familiar to teacher and historian Valencia Abbott of Reedsville. In fact, Abbott helped fellow black historian Fletcher Dalton lead the very seminar about Freetown last August at the Madison Public Library that ignited Trenton Phelps' interest in the settlement. When we allow these students to see these diverse stories, when they become personally connected and engage with them, it becomes what they are interested in. It's not my story, it's our story, Abbott said. We have to pass those stories down. History in our own backyard is powerful and has a deeper connection for students, Abbott said. And when a student knows about a historic site and can say, this is a mile from my house, this is where my family grew up, it starts making pieces fall into place. Beyond that, Citizen Cemetery is a touchstone to family lineage for many area African American families who may not have the benefit of a thorough paper trail to the past. Abbott said explaining vital records for blacks were not thoroughly maintained by the country and state during centuries. For African Americans, cemeteries can be that link to finding your roots, Abbott said. You have to remember, if someone is looking for validation of their past, that headstone could be the only source they have. That could be it. Hopefully that the State Department of History and Archives will ultimately deem the site a historic landmark, Abbott said. For some people, this is it. If we don't preserve it, it could be lost forever. Trenton Phelps has watched the black elders walk the grounds and discovered their connection to the grave. Saturday saw the Phelps duo and a host of volunteers out studying grave sites of known veterans with American flags for Memorial Day. When you get to meet some of the other community members and they say, I knew that person when I was young, it gives you the feeling that this has to be fixed because there were real people and they had friends, family, and loved ones just like everyone else. Phelps said, I feel excited for doing something for the black community after how they were treated. In an effort to record the graves, volunteers like grandmother Wendy Puckett have discovered dozens of unmarked sites that extend several acres through a heavily wooded thicket to a creek. Travis Phelps hypothesizes that scads of yet to be uncovered graves, likely those of slaves, are closest to the creek. When genealogy enthusiast Puckett of Sandy Ridge isn't walking the cemetery grounds with her notebook, trying to solve riddles of relationships between scores of souls, she's searching for clues within family Bibles and on internet ancestry sites. Here, 3 children are active in helping with cemetery project through YCUJ. And you could say she developed something of a kinship with those who rest here. These are my people, Puckett said, chuckling, while surviving the grounds on a recent afternoon, reciting names and biographical tidbits into Madison's late African-American citizen. She said, I mean, I can almost tell you where half the people are here. One amazing man was Anderson Scales, she said of the slave whose grave she recently located. He ended up starting his own draying business. He took mail from the train depot in Madison all the way to Mount Airy on a horse, 2 or 3 days a week. He had grocery store on Ivesier Road. She said of Scales, who died at 96, and at night he taught people. Another grave she identified is that of James Faust, a slave from Alamance County who moved to Madison and founded his own brick businesses before building the first Mount Carmel Holiness Church in Madison, Puckett said. The next step for volunteers is to seek formal recognition from North Carolina's Office of Archives and History within the State Department of Natural and Cultural Resources. Though, through the agency, the cemetery may become a part of the North Carolina Cemetery Survey, a program for recording vital statistics from the state's cemeteries whereby graves are officially identified, mapped, and permanently preserved. Further protection of the cemetery could come from a federal initiative to create a national database of historic African American burial grounds as part of the National Park Service. Through the agencies, the cemetery may become part of the North Carolina Cemetery Survey, a program for recording vital statistics from the state's cemeteries, whereby graves are officially identified, mapped, and permanently preserved. Further protection for the cemetery could come from a federal initiative to create a national database of historic African American burial grounds as part of the National Park Service. The legislation for the proposed African American Burial Grounds Network Act was introduced this spring by Rep. Alma Adams of North Carolina and Donald McKeegan of Virginia. Such a statute would mean federal funding for research and tech support in the preservation of such sites. To honor them is of utmost importance. So I'm hoping that will happen. Abbott said of state and federal recognition and support. My sincere hope is that if we're going to talk about true history, we have to talk about all the truths and all the perspectives. So, pictures that Noli will have to explain a little bit of.
So this right here, they are still burying people in the cemetery. Now this cemetery is full, okay? And I will, there are pictures that will explain that here in a minute. So nobody owns this property. Nobody does. If anybody does, it is the Black community in this town.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody else, okay? There is a funeral home that has been selling plots of land, burial plots, in this cemetery for generations. Okay, they have not, I mean, you'll see some pictures here shortly that where the grass is so high, you can't even tell there's a cemetery there. I mean, it's like above my waist high.
This is one of the checks, right? And I think someone
He is
wanted
charging
to
almost $760 for a plot, which they should not be charged a dime for.
Right.
Because that property was given to the Black community so that they would have a place to bury their dead, period.
Yep.
So how the hell, if he doesn't own the property, and if you look at the surveys, it says NA. When it comes to who owns the property, NA, that's what it says.
Right.
Not applicable.
So, and the name on the back of this check is, for people who don't like reading squiggly lighting?
That Reese Perry.
That's
Perry.
it.
That is the man's name that owns the funeral home,
Yep.
who has been selling plots on this piece of land for generations. And his father did it, and
yeah, as a person,
they had no right to charge these people money.
Oh, as a person who's lived in the South, I recognize the state of these burial grounds. It's very common, unfortunately, that like these get
when
neglected.
When they're actively being used, are you kidding me? I mean, okay, so there's poisonous snakes and everything else over there.
Oh yeah, you gotta climb, you gotta crawl through the woods if you want to go see Mama. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You feel me?
Well, that is, and then on top of all this, the city went in and had part of that area logged.
Yes.
Disrupting God knows how many graves, and they took the money, and instead of giving that money to the Black community, they took it to the business community, and they took it to the white community of that town.
Of course, they did.
Yeah.
This is not okay. So on top of this, some of these pictures that you're like, if
flipping
you can
through,
bring those down here,
yeah. So we've got. I'll go back a little bit for you. This is some pictures we have of the
This is after. This right here is actually after they had already they had already like taken care of it and had cleaned it up. There is a picture where the tall grass is all kind of brownish colored, and it is above waist high, and you cannot see any headstones. You can't see nothing.
Yeah.
It just looks like a grody field.
Yep. So this is what it was before, right?
Yep, that's right there. That's what it was when these kids went out there the first time, and they went out there several times to get it to look as good as it does. And the thing is this all started because this man wanted the funeral home or the city to keep the property up so that people can go and see their family members, go and chase down their lineage, go and find, the graves of their loved ones or the people that they never had a chance to fucking meet.
Yeah.
It was important to them to do this. And I mean, these kids, they raised so much freaking money to go and do this. And it wasn't because they were bad kids or anything. This was like a program that was just for kids to get involved in their community. That's all.
Yeah.
And it kind of escalated from there because the guy started digging when he got told to be quiet, when he got told, you know, no, you're not going to do nothing. You're not going to make nobody do anything. The city is profiting off of it. Well, the people, the city mayor and whatnot, they're profiting off this place. The gentleman who is running that funeral home is profiting off this place. And it's one, I mean, again, it was given to the Black community. They should not be charged a dime, maybe charged to have the grave open and closed.
Yeah.
But that's it. And that's if there's really room out there. Can you go to the ground penetrating radar?
Yes, I can. Right here.
Right. So this right here, I don't know if you guys are familiar with ground penetrating radar, but this right here, where did it go? I'm seeing myself.
You're good. It's here.
Okay. So all of these like lines that go up and down and kind of make like a goofy looking hill. This is like a 12 by 12 section of ground. Each one of those mounds that you're seeing there, that's a body. That is a mass fucking grave right there.
The other thing you should do to check if people are you know, if your source is listening, get a lye soil test. Test the soil for lye. Right above that. Tell me if it doesn't come up with extremely high levels of it. Lye is not naturally produced, right? So the only way for it to be produced in high quantities like that is for mass graves. And that's not like, it's not for like singular graves. It's mass graves do that, right? So, you know, take a look with that and see if that, especially, and like because of the timing, I imagine this is like Civil War slave mass grave, so it should be there.
Or it could be that it was a later date mass graves. I mean, there's no telling what dates these graves come from. The fact that they're there and that there was enough people who died, and it's not in the records anywhere in that town.
Yeah.
For that many Black people to have died at once, to be buried in a mass damn grave, that there would have been records of this.
Yeah.
And there isn't. And the thing is this was brought up to the mayor during a meeting which Blind Justice was actually at and was recording.
Nice.
So there is recorded footage of this, of the gentleman saying, hey, we need to address this. And the mayor literally like shushing him and like telling him to shut the hell up and just, we're not talking about that here and now, and shut the guy down and made him, you know, get away from the podium.
Right.
So they're trying to keep this shit quiet. I'm waiting on a phone call back from the gentleman who actually did this survey. And I got some other phone calls out to some other people in the area. There's a women's college there that I've got a few phone calls into to see if we can't get somebody to go out there and do the testing that you were talking about. And, you know, hopefully try and get something started as far as protections of this property. At the very least, from the people who are using it to line their damn pockets and not do anything good for the Black community there.
No, I completely agree. So I wanted to go to, this is some damage that's being caused, right? By, you know, just being out in the wild for the most part. That's a gravestone marker, right? Like, so.
These are all markers that got pulled up. People pulled them up.
Right. So we have that. This is when they, you know, when they went out there the first time, I think.
No, that was like the second or third time.
Okay.
They went out there.
Gotcha. And this is, you know, the essentially saying like, you know, that these are historic like graves essentially, right? That they're, you know,
they are
massive parts of the community.
There are 9 confirmed slaves in the cemetery at this point, and 27 confirmed Confederate soldiers, Black Confederate soldiers. I know that, so basically slaves for the military of the South, that are in this graveyard. And so that right there alone should have protected it from being logged on.
Yeah.
By the city. Or it should have been at least a choice given to the Black community to vote on. but not to anybody else. That's no one else's decision.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it personally. Other people may feel differently.
I mean, I think with it being such a historic like area for, you know, the minority culture in the area, like I think there absolutely should be some council, you know, like either elected or decided to deal with this, you know.
And this cemetery supposedly is so full that you know, and they're still burying people out there today.
Yeah.
They're either burying bodies on top of bodies, or they're moving bodies, which could be where this mass grave thing came from.
Right.
But
Which, if
I
that's
think
the case, that's
the
more,
mass grave thing
yeah.
needs to be investigated. It needs to be investigated by a team of anthropologists and archaeologists, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Plus, like, if that is the case, like, that's a huge anthropologists would be dying to fucking get that bit of history and write it all down. So, you know, I completely
People
agree.
who don't know what happened to their family, you know, maybe they can gain some closure from it.
Yeah. This is which I have a video, I think, right after this explaining this, but this is, if people can't tell what this is, right where he has this stake. This is, I think he circled that headstone marker, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a grave. This is just one.
Yeah.
Right? So let's see if I have the video of this right here.
All right, right there you can see the footstone. And if you look, it is actually body length. And right there's the pole.
So yeah.
So that is a property marker. That pole is a property marker, and it should not be there. That's not where the property line is, for one.
Right.
And two, who is going to go and stick that right in the middle of the grave?
Yeah. Right. Exactly. No, of course. So
the fuckery of this crowd is insane, and it goes to show people that there is no such thing as that sweet small town that you know Andy Griffith was a sheriff of. There is none. That doesn't exist. It never did, and it never will.
Well,
corruption is at the root. It is these families in these areas that are in control of the government system there, who are taking advantage of people who have been taken advantage for fucking generations upon generations. And here they're gonna fuck with their dead.
Yeah.
That's kind of my outrage about it.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, Noli? Like there are a lot of, I guess, teenagers, young adults who have really been involved in this. Do you know, like, overall their response is, you know, in terms of essentially this discovery and like they're doing and like how invested they've been? Like
they have spent years invested in this piece of property and the historical significance of it. And again, to do something for their community, it's just amazing. And
yeah,
they are, I mean, they took then and held the biggest festival that town has ever seen, has ever had. There was over 350 vendors there. And this 17-year-old boy, when he was 16, he organized this thing and got all these vendors to come out. And, you know, it raised a shit ton of money for that Black community. And guess what happened with the money?
Went to the white folks, I'm betting.
Yes, exactly. It's
Just
still not being as and now that family and that group has been dissolved.
Hey man, Main Street needs a new coat of paint. All right, Main Street needs a new coat of paint, and we can't give no money to
development project in Freetown right now that I want to look into a little bit more before I speak on it too much. But it gives me really, really bad vibes. It is clearly.
If I know
like, they need
anything,
to be careful with how they developed that area because of the historical fucking significance of it. This area, this town, was the biggest slave trade town in the whole state.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And
And,
this is
I
what-
mean, the story is just disgusting. And these people don't want that story lost. They don't want it whitewashed. They don't want it erased. They want it in, you know, in your face. Here it is, because it's the truth.
Critical race theory in action, folks. Somewhat.
Yeah.
You know.
And these kids are the ones who initiated this. And then of course they've got, I mean, the families were getting harassed by police and everything else. It was just bad. It was really fucking bad.
Of course. I mean, I've lived in small towns to know that they're all the most fucking corrupt, like, things on the planet, like, through nepotism and through. So yeah, this is the stuff that activists normally, like, chain themselves to trees over. So hopefully some stuff can happen.
But you know what, though? I will say this. Couple of things. One, as a teacher, this excites me because this is the kind of learning that should be happening in schools.
Yeah,
but I
I
think
agree.
the way that they're engaged in something that one, this in of itself, the hidden history there, you know, is something that is connected to them as far as their being, I think is very powerful. So I think just the acts of these teenagers actually getting involved in this,
Yeah.
you know, like their life has been changed because of this. I'm very certain of that in of itself. But then number two, I am confident that through this, they're able, you know, essentially they're becoming activists right now. And they're able to kind of take this, you know, as far as thinking in terms of on a macro scale, like in terms of like thinking in like, if they're able to do this in their town, what they can do like in the sense of their county, of the state, you know, on the federal level. So through this experience, I'm fairly sure that they're being world changers right now. And that's ultimately what we need more in this country, you know, and like, so the whole, and like, for me, who is somewhat cynical, you know, like in life generally, you know, I think especially looking at our politics and how fucked up it is, one of the biggest hopes I do have is like, especially when children are engaged in this way, they're going to do something with it and they are going to make those connections, you know, as they grow to how, you know, essentially just due to the powers that be, especially in this country in particular, just how fucked up things are. And they have the knowledge now of how to combat against that. They've already beginning to have that practice in that already. So I'm actually very excited to see. My only hope is that they're able to maintain that beyond this in terms of how they can think about it, in terms of like what they can do, I think in the Black community at large. So I think that's the encouragement, I think for Noli that you should take away from all this. Like these kids' lives have been changed from this, I'm fairly sure. And you know, yeah, there are going to be people who are going to take away or try to take the physicality of this, but they're not going to take away the work that has already been implanted. And I'm sure like these kids, well, adults really at this point, you know, are going to fight tooth and nail to ensure that the Black community in this community will hold on to that. I don't think they're going to let it go that easily because of essentially corporate interests who wants to take away and erase their history like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty direct example, right? Like of that. Like that not only is that happening at a national scale, it's happening at like the individual scale, literally. So
yeah.
Power to you, Noli, for finding that shit. Good on you.
Yeah, there's actually lots more to this story that I'll be bringing forth.
Well, here you go.
I gotta make sure and, you know, make sure that all the information is correct and before I share it. So
I'll just flip through a few more of these photos.
I would love for you to come back and share more of this because this really like my dad's a funeral director, so like this kind of stuff, you know, kind of interests me anyway. But I love how kids have been involved in this, and the learning that they're getting from this is just like, this is what education should be. you
I
know,
agree.
and like in its purest form. So it really excites me that
Should get
there
your dad
are
on here too.
examples, especially within the Black community, that they're actually getting like authentic ways to learn not only about their history, but they're engaged in it as far as like thinking in terms of like, how can this relate to their future? You know, it's in terms of what they want to do and how they can engage. It give them ways of how they can engage to combat against these kind of forces that ultimately, you know, like want to erase their history and then like the knowledge that they should have in order to help others too. So I love how essentially it's been kids who have been kind of writing this that have encouraged the adults to do it. So
Exactly. That's exactly what they've done.
Yeah. So who's this, Noli? You can't see, can you? There you go.
Oh, I couldn't. No, I can't see again.
It'll take you a second. Guy in the blue shirt.
I believe that is the
TC.
Reverend.
I see a nameplate here. Just like Captain whatever.
Oh, I believe that is the mayor.
Okay, this guy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
gotcha. So if
But
people
we will save the info on him for later because I gotta you know check my
pull that together. Well, what I'll do is
I just gotta
I'll send you the
make sure
slideshow.
everything's active.
I'll send you the copy of like this set of slides, right? And give you that in case you need it.
Oh, you were talking about the headstone, not the gentleman in the photo.
Yes. No, I was talking about the one in the photo. Collin read the headstone, but yes.
Yeah.
I think that's it. But yeah, I will send you this slideshow so that, you know, if you go on like RBN later this week, hint hint, wink wink, you know, to talk about this,
yes,
you can bring that with you.
Yeah,
So
I can do that.
I'll message Sabby and be like, yo, girl, what are you doing? Get on it. This is good. But anyway,
Yeah, thank you guys for letting me share this story.
No, thank you. This was
this was fantastic
for me, honestly. I think in light of all this other stories that we talked about tonight.
Yeah.
Like it's good to talk about something that's more, I mean, does
stuff actually was getting done and like there's actual ways of like there's ways to fight it.
Yeah, this is direct action in its purest form. And I love that there are young adults who are involved in this, you know, so it's good to kind of end on a somewhat wholesome
I
note.
agree. Noli, where can they find you?
You guys can find me here on YouTube, Noli D, or you can find me on Twitter, AJ No Way. And my Instagram is Strange Mind Dark Heart.
Gotcha. In the description down below, I have the links for both those. I would have put a link tree there, but Noli hasn't made one. You know, I'm gonna have to punish her later for not having one. At least put her in timeout. You know, but otherwise, Collin, you have a link tree down below, right?
I do have a
with
link
all
tree down
your
below.
links, like a good boy, like a good boy. I had to tell everyone. It's like,
Maybe
why?
I like stickers. You don't know. You don't know. It could be that.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah.
But yeah, if not, there's a link tree for Indie News Network down below that has not only a link tree for all the members of Indie News Network, and links for them to find all of them if they don't have one of those, you know, but with donations links to all those people in their, you know, various social media platforms, but also donation links for INN as well are in there. So, you know, if you want to hook people up, we'd love new equipment and, you know, giving people who actually earn this some cheddar. So, appreciate everyone showing up. The chat's been great. Savvy, appreciate you showing up. Oz showed up. Lucy showed up right at the last minute. We covered your story. Hopefully you appreciated that.
Those of you who are here, I think JB is streaming right now. It's his 1000th sub stream. So
yeah,
go show him
go
some
raid,
love.
go raid him. Go rate him.
Go rate him. Show him some love.
I will.
Tell him congratulations. And
Give him a super chat even. You know, hook him up.
Yeah, now
But-
he can get super chats. So
Right.
hook him up, love on him, congratulate him, and all that. So
Give him a big old
Thank you
hug.
for
Just
letting me know.
want to squeeze the cheeks. Just so cute. Ah. Anyway,
Cute, isn't he?
love you, fam. All right.
Bye,
Good night,
guys.
everybody.
bye guys. See you next week.
Labels are bad. Stay independent. Bye-bye.
Okay.